We try to find the better way to cover the needs and always try and find the problems that the user currently have and just basically solve it. I think we kind of missing like products, maybe customer oriented solutions. Maybe we need to focus on something that can drive adoption. I think governance currently might need some restructuring because you know how to launch a chain. I'm just like, make sure you need a chain.
Welcome to the Bare Metal Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bare Metal Podcast. This is Ship the Code from Rocco AX, and today I've got here with me Reena J of Citadel.one fame. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Cool. So can you start us off? Can you tell us about Citadel.one? Not everybody might be familiar with. What are you guys what's your main focus? What are you guys doing?
Sure. So Citadel.one is a kind of a dinosaur in the ecosystem of Cosmos. We started off our Cosmos node early 2020, and since then I think we basically covered every single chain that got launched within the Cosmos ecosystem. But our validator journey started back in 2018, actually was the Tezos node, and since then we kind of figured out niche, we figured out the infrastructure we're using, all of the monitoring, all of the kind of focus, and we had this idea in mind to have it like really easy for stakers to interact with various kinds of chains and have a really easy asset management as well. So we started building a platform that kind of covers all of the major pain points of delegators and just the average like newbies, crypto users, to cater the best user experience with crypto in a non-custodial way. And over the journey of Citadel.one, we changed our kind of focus a million times, I think, from just the staking functionality to more focus on like IBC chains. So we provided really seamless IBC functionality. Then we opened up our app section, integrated osmosis, major DEX in multiple chains. Then we got more into some like utility tooling, like auto restaking for Cosmos chains due to OSD module. Then we integrated tax reporting app. And so we tried to find the we tried to find the better way to kind of cover the needs and always try and find the problems that the user currently have and just basically solve it with whatever UX experience we have, with whatever knowledge of multiple ecosystems. So yeah, this is currently where we're at now. We actually heavily focus on governance, and we were one of the first teams that started to report about how we vote on different proposals and various chains. We created the governance tracking bot, and we're trying to stay super consistent. And maybe like a year and a half ago, we published our first like validator constitution to basically cover all of the major statements that we take into account while casting a vote, which made it like way easier and transparent to stakers. I think it's a good practice. This is actually something that people were trying to work on in Validator Commons as well. And I for some time I was a part of it. But yeah, so this is it about Citadel.one. We're really looking forward to contributing to the Cosmos ecosystem.
That's a mouthful. That was a lot of stuff. I want to pick out the tax reporting thing. That is so interesting. I don't think anybody has done that. Like I've heard this question asked multiple times. Hey, how do I prepare my tax return from staking? But I wasn't aware there was actually a solution. Can you talk more about like where are these sort of deliverables, these solutions? Are some of these mobile apps or some of these web apps? Like where would I find this stuff?
Mm-hmm. So we have the major product at app.citadel.one, and it's an app sections, and it's really available for all the Cosmos chains, EVM compatible chains, basically all the chains that we currently have in operation within Citadel.one. We are partnered with the one of the major tax processing firms, and so basically you create a like Excel CSV file and a specific chains you need, and then you can go over to their website and do a direct really detailed tax form for your tax purposes. So this was a good idea. And I know a couple of teams that are currently working on this within the Cosmos ecosystem, and specifically for osmosis, I believe. It's Sycamore. They're doing a great job indexing stuff, and they built a pretty good UI for tax reports as well.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty interesting. I think sort of this a mature ecosystem needs this, just so
For
people
sure.
are safe and feel well about working with their gains, if any, at least
Yeah.
they're taking gains.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, but there's always this question how to correctly report this stuff, and how do I fulfill whatever the financial authority where I'm living wants. So I think this is pretty cool. Like bringing a clear solution to users, especially big stakers, right? Big stakers need this, especially if they're businesses. I think that's
Yeah.
really sort of key functionality. So I'm definitely going to check out Citadel.one and
you.
see what this thing works like. And I'm surprised I've never heard about this before. So, but that was what you guys focus on. And you did say you guys validate like almost all the chains. So I guess
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense to ask how do you pick chains?
Yeah,
Because do you guys
I think,
do some sort of diligence or?
oh, for sure. We do have our due diligence department kind of thing. So we basically assess the tokenomics, we assess the major product, if it makes sense, right? Because currently some projects arise not to deliver value, but rather just to, chain for the sake of the chain. We try not to do that. And we are looking for foundations with really clear vision and thought out like structure, so the token actually makes sense, right? So this is basically the criteria. Of course, if it's a badass Cosmos chain, we'll be like looking forward to working with them, contributing additionally, because I think it's a really huge part of the validator job to contribute, to be a builder or any like kind of educational material provider. So this is something that you cannot afford just to validate, just to do technical stuff. You now have to do a lot of contributions that you can think of. You have expertise, either like helping with the code or helping out with something else.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys will find lots of new exciting projects to to validate on. So what would be the current ones you guys are interested in? What are your rods in the fire? Or you'd say, okay, I want to validate on this project when it goes live.
I mean, they're pretty like I think it's a hard space to launch a chain right now, I'd say, especially now that the replicated security is being tested. I think the some projects that do not really need a chain like itself, like the token itself, they can just get onboarded to your economic zone, right? So as like projects that we're willing to support, and we already support, is basically Archway, something from the newly launched ones. And Archway, I fell in love with Archway since the very beginning, because I think that's something that was kind of missing, and they're doing a pretty good job building out the ecosystem. And I'm like really hopeful they will be able to deliver whatever is in their roadmap. But aside of this, the chains that we also involved with is Noble. Noble has the potential to actually bring value to the Atom as a token, because there's a huge gateway like of stable coins to Cosmos that was kind of missing, and especially after what happened to Terra, I think it's a good like market fit. So I was really excited about this one. They're still in progress, and we're looking forward to just following their processes. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of chains are like interested like outside the ecosystem, and like I have DMs, like people reaching out to me from beyond the Cosmos ecosystem, asking like, do you know how to launch a chain? I'm just like, make sure you need a chain, and then we'll talk. But yeah, so
Good advice.
I think last Cosmoverse, I got to meet a lot of amazing projects, but not necessarily that they are like, I think we're kind of missing like products, maybe customer oriented solutions. We have enough app change for now. maybe we need to focus on something that can drive adoption.
Hear that. So in other news, I was surprised to learn you've got something to do with the AA DAO now. Can you tell us more about that?
Oh yeah, that's I think it's a wonderful initiative because on-chain governance was kind of a mess, and we've seen some scandal proposals, and we do not need more drama in Cosmos for sure. So I think it was a good kind of initiative to start and work on like supporting public goods, and as well as like projects that need funding and can be like really valuable for the Cosmos ecosystem and the Cosmos Hub in particular. So we currently have a focus on kind of building out and supporting the Atom Economic Zone. Also really exciting, the recent proposal on tokenomics. So I like a lot is coming. But other than that, like different toolings and interesting applicants come like to us from all over the place and trying to build value, and it's really cool to see that. And I'm personally in charge of something that is happening like shortly. So tomorrow we're launching the 10th of August. We're launching the hackathon with Dora Hacks. It was the first hackathon that was sponsored by AADAO with a focus obviously on Atom Economic Zone, and I think it's a good opportunity for someone new to get on board, because a lot of workshops are gonna be held, and a lot of new documentation is gonna be available as well. So they will be able to test out, and the most important thing, we'll try to connect them with the previous grantees, so the tech that is being built, the public good tech, is actually getting adopted and consumed by some other projects, and I think it makes total sense. And it will be ending a little bit after the Cosmoverse, so we'll have some time to also maybe recruit great projects and so kind of sandwich the Cosmoverse hackathon as well, so we can pass over the talents, and it's amazing. And maybe
is this online or?
Yeah.
So this is an online hackathon, right? Okay. So once you said it takes months, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. And another good thing is we're working closely with Longhash X Accelerator program, and we issued a grant some time ago. So they are looking to accelerate 5 like most promising like contributions, like projects from the Cosmos ecosystem. And it's been really great trying to recruit and look for it all over the place. And I think they're like pretty good, like strong candidate base. And I mean, we've seen that Cosmos didn't lose no developers this year, and it's pretty amazing. And we'll be growing more once we have more structured funding available and more structured technical support. So yeah, I mean, it's been exciting, and I got to delve deeper into different parts of how the the ecosystem operates actually. So it was quite an experience, and yeah, I'm happy to be a part of this team.
So, and what is exactly your role, and what are you focusing on? You said that the hackathon is sort of what you were in charge of. Is that like developer experience, or do you have a specific track that you focus on?
Yeah, so we started off as a because it's all like pretty new, and the program managers try to structure it as like optimal as possible. So basically, we had like 4 validator reviewers, and so we had like part-time involvement, all with different kind of experience and expertise that we brought to the table. And I'm like more of a DevRel, like BD person, so I think hackathons is the like one I was really excited to be part of. So, and then we just basically shared some responsibilities, because obviously we cannot just fund projects. We need like structured, like long-term relationships, so it actually makes sense and comes to fruition at certain points. So we all kind of in charge, and we have oversight committee structure that basically follows up with the grantees and make sure everything is going as planned. Because I mean, IT never gets delivered on time, right? So we have to take into account every little moment and help as much as we can, because acceleration, right? So we're not particularly accelerator, but we're doing I think pretty good job trying and connect people at least within the ecosystem. So some partnerships are being made, and so it's more successful for both the ecosystem and the project.
You mentioned governance and DPS drama. Obviously, we've had a bunch of that in Cosmos recently. So, sort of, what do you think about the state of governance? It's like it changes month to month, right? So, I always have this as a question on the pod. Like what could be improved? Like, what are the current things? So for example, AADAO is AADAO now to take charge of like public goods funding, or should projects also apply like use government props on Cosmos to apply for funding? That has happened several times now. Does that make sense? Or should it go through AA? Like, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so like my personal take, I don't really know because I cannot speak on behalf of the whole like entity because we operate vote based, so like the majority actually takes the right decision. And but I think so for the controversial like projects that we do not think might be a good fit for the projects we fund in particular, they should probably do the public governance or try to find like seek funding elsewhere, because it's not that we have to fund everything. We kind of have to focus more on public goods and the general contributions rather than something like venture based, right? But I don't really know. So the question is, when are you going if like where are you going if you got rejected by Accelerated DAO, if you for some reason didn't like get the like approval and like maybe not a good market fit, what do you do, right? So where do you get funding? So maybe that's the way to go to the public governance. But we're trying to provide like feedback in some specific cases. We're trying to work out the grants. So in case the application is not particularly like explaining the general point and value for Atom, we're trying to reach out and like talk it out, and if we see potential. So I mean, I don't think there are like precedents of any underfunded entities going on chain in this period. So yeah, hopefully we're doing a good job. But I think
wasn't there the Confio? Confio was asking for
Confio was on the DAO formation kind of moment, so we didn't have processes just yet. So, and it was really urgent for them, so they decided to go on chain. And I think it's also a good example, because Confio check size was like pretty big, right? So, is it really something that like we can decide on?
It should be doing,
so yeah, so it's just something that maybe community like can decide on in Validators. So it's more of a shared responsibility, because we try to focus on like medium check size mostly, especially due to the market conditions. But yeah, so these are the different. But of course, every like funding thing gets more complicated with time, I think, because more and more people getting involved, asking good like questions, give constructive feedback. So you have to be like ready to explain and deliver the milestones. I think a good precedent is to have like really structured budgeting. I'm pro that. So in case governance proposal goes on chain, it has to have a really detailed like cost structure. So it's at least this part is covered. And so in a matter of fact, this year I ran a governance research, and like a lot of cosmonauts actually helped me. So part of it was to actually talk to delegators and validators to figure out what's basically the incentive of them participating in governance, while there is no direct like monetary reward, whatever. And so it was interesting. But among the like the major like I was a bit disappointed. Like a lot of people were mentioning that they were like really seeking for airdrop, and I think it's a really bad precedent kind of thing, because it's just destroying the
it's a short-term incentive.
Yes,
it's a short-term incentive, just the airdrop.
It was pretty sad, but there are definitely people who like act identity based. So basically, if you kind of think of yourself as a delegator and you think is a good kind of use of your time, and you have a role that you have to be committed to and fulfill the role to vote, to stay on top of things happening and in the ecosystem, and kind of integrity type of thing. It's also a good point, and a lot of delegators were mentioning that. And it's a certain freedom. I had one respondent that was mentioning that it's basically your chance to influence things, and especially if you're a validator, you just have to do that because it's a part of your duty. So it was pretty interesting. But yeah, I think governance currently might need some restructuring because at different levels we don't have this expertise that covers the areas that we need. And what I figured from my research and what people were mentioning as well is that we maybe lack some kind of maybe committee structure. I'm really cautious about saying committee because it's a necessary bureaucracy, but I think we do need some expertise, for example, on proposals that are completely technical. We need some expertise on the proposals that are more of a political type of thing, like vision proposals. We need a lot of feedback. We need a lot of oversight on that. So maybe it's more of a type-based integrity within the governance processes, because there are different types of validators that are currently in the Cosmos Hub validator set. So basically, those who come from game of stakes. So the earliest ones, like long-term contributors, builders, they have different approach to governance, right? And on the other side of the full, we have, for example, capital validators who do not give a shit about that, or we have just innovators, someone who are working mostly on building stuff, building platforms, building tooling, and they really need their input on everything political or every funding. It's not particularly clear. But what's interesting also, we have community focused validators that are providing education, community engagement, marketing and media, and what should be their role, right? It's a whole different topic.
Right.
So yeah.
So on the governance side, there's also, I think it was very sort of detailed. You're obviously deep into governance. That's it's pretty cool to hear all the research that has happened and sort of the segmentation of the space. I've heard of an idea floating around that it might be sort of useful to separate the governance and the technical part of this. And there was an idea floating around the role of governators, right? Somebody who's specialized in governance, having a different pool of people voting than the ones who are actually producing blocks. But I'm wondering what you think of this idea and how would it be structured, right?
Definitely. I was actually I was discussing it with one of the I'd say Cosmos expert. His name is Phil. He's pretty detailed on everything Cosmos. He's he knows ins and outs basically, and he was working on something called Govmas, which basically serves as a kind of platform to simplify and maybe structure the governance in the way we need it. I do believe it makes sense, and the only thing I'm we should be careful about having additional complexity, because we can lose engagement, and actual engagement is a huge kind of issue that we've faced for quite a bit of time. And another question will be, do we really need delegators to take part of, in governance, or do we have any practices on how to onboard only aware delegators? So it's really hard to I mean, in theory, I think the structure really makes sense, and it might have, might create the structure that contributes to the well-being of the governance in general. But everything that is in preparation, everything preliminary for this structure cannot be too bureaucratic. Otherwise, it's all gonna lose sense. So I don't really know. I don't really know how to make it come true, right? So what's the steps we can take towards that? So, but it definitely it's more theoretical for now. I think maybe the Cosmos ecosystem is not just yet, ready yet. Maybe we'll come and understand that the community community needs to be more involved, and we have to structure committees for validators who are like in charge of like governance, and those like in charge of technical stuff only.
That would make sense. I also have little insight into, how the governors would work. Where would they get their voting power from? Would they be paired with letters? Like, how would this whole thing be structured? Right? But yeah, on the side of from the perspective of delegators voting, that's definitely a theoretical question. We've been tracking delegator voting for a while on the Observatory, but you can't really see it because almost no delegators are voting. I think the exception is Stargaze. On Stargaze, some delegators do vote.
I mean, it's really hard to, I don't know if you guys are excluding bots, because I was seeing like drastical change starting the AADAO 2.0 vote, because a lot of delegators, like individual addresses, like they did take their time and vote. So like it was the main like kind of question of my research, like why? So there's got to be something beyond that. And so I think Cosmos is doing pretty good compared to other chains. But yeah, I mean, and it's not, I don't think Cosmos is too spammed with like technical proposals. So maybe people do have notifications on for what's happening, because governance in a sense can cause like implicit costs, especially for validators in case you're not voting. So, and for delegators, maybe they're looking for like some signal to cash out. I don't know. Right. Tokenomics definitely can affect. It's something like worth like tracking. So.
Yeah, it might make sense to go back into the data and look at it. I didn't notice anything special around that time, so we'll definitely check that out. Anyway, so we've covered a lot of ground, and I'm thinking, like, is there something else you're working on? So we sort of covered the Citadel.one part. We covered the AA DAO. Is that what you're spending most of your time on, or is there some other stuff you'd like to sort of point out?
Yeah, so I'm kind of prolific. I don't know. I'm trying to cover as much as I can while I have power, right? We do run this kind of female initiative that's called Cosmos Cartel, and I'm now a bit concerned about the naming, but it's basically
especially in South America.
Yes.
Cosmos Cartel.
But this is basically, we're trying to empower females. We gathered around like 150 girls already, and basically founders or just like builders anywhere within the Cosmos ecosystem and within the app chains, or anyone who works with Cosmos as a VC, as a just marketing provider. We try to gather them, and we're doing like little meetups, sharing information, and we're definitely looking to have more of an educational component, because I mean, Solana girls are doing a great job. Ethereum, like in female empowerment, is exceptional. So I figured we need something like that in Cosmos, and so now we have a kind of a core team with girls from all over the place, and we're trying to make something out of it. So hopefully we'll have a meetup during the Cosmoverse. And yeah, so it's pretty exciting. It's something you do for your free time. Absolutely enthusiastic, and like every girl has like zero reward for that. It's basically out of a goodwill. Yeah, and
that's interesting. So how can girls join? How can they find this? I mean, you said Cosmoverse, but before that, are you guys online somewhere?
Yeah, before that, so we have a kind of a networking boost type of thing in Telegram. So they're like always welcome to reach out to me. We are trying to keep it private and girls only, so you can get a link directly from me or any member. So so we always welcome new members.
Cool. That sounds pretty interesting. So best of luck with that initiative. And hopefully you guys meet up in big numbers and at the Cosmoverse. So we're looking forward to that as well.
It's actually really alarmingly not a lot female talent in Cosmos, unfortunately. But we do have some jams.
Fingers crossed we can push these numbers. All right, so it was great to have you here on the pod. Thanks very much for sharing, what you're working on and your current project. And yeah, hope to see you here again.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking.